is sort of like, if you're not in terms of who you are rooting for to win, but the question I'm posing is, if you were betting in Las Vegas on who you think is going to win.
We're going to get to that in the propositions.
Oh yeah, we will actually. We're already at an hour and 11. So, if you were to bet on who was going to win, do you have thoughts on that?
I'm not going to speak to that issue.
Well, I'm going to speak to it because historically, incumbents have a massive advantage in Poway elections. They always have. It's rare for an incumbent to be beaten. I think was the last one when Mayor Voss beat Higginson for the mayor race. Was that the last incumbent to lose?
Yeah, but there was a lot in undercurrent that we didn't realize was undercurrent back then either.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, as there always is.
Yeah.
But generally, and I remember when Mayor Lee Boyack was on city council, this is like between 2000 and 2010, she won, but I think she won only because someone else had stepped down.
Yeah.
And it opened up the race. Yeah. And I remember talking to her and she said, yeah, it's hard to win against an incumbent. And if you're facing an incumbent, back then one could say that Poway was a pretty nice place and there wasn't a lot of drama. This is like,
not like now.
Now there is, but this is like 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now there was certainly some drama, but not to this extent. And she told me, she said, sometimes as a candidate, you have to sort of invent a problem and then run against it. But I'm of the belief, if I'm a betting person in Las Vegas, Steve Voss is going to be hard to beat. And
that's a given.
And also, that's by no means any commentary on Delta or Yuri or the other two candidates. It's just he won twice, and he's going for his third in a row.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the candidates that are supported by the incumbents, which are DeHoff and Pepin, I always talk about this old Poway guard here in town, where there's a lot of the mayor, there's a lot of people that are vocally anti-Voss, but the mayor has a very strong silent majority that support him. And I think a lot of those folks are going to come out and vote for Pepin and DeHoff. And so I think if I'm a betting person, I think those candidates are going to be hard to beat. Now, in saying that, hopefully that will motivate the challengers to really bring people out to vote and really, draw them out to get them to the polls. But given what we learned from Amit and the changing demographics in Poway, and as there's more growing frustration in Poway for a whole variety of issues, and now people are having their eyes open to a lot of these financial issues, I think now that sort of Mayor Voss has never been more vulnerable than he is this election. And I think that sort of old Poway guard, that establishment, that that the people that are aligned with city council, they're now looking over their shoulder because the landscape has changed. And so while I think if I'm a betting person in Vegas that I think they're going to likely win, that bet is close to even money.
Very close.
It's not like 10-1 odds or something crazy. It's a closer bet now. And to me, that's what makes this election cycle so fascinating.
Yep. I'm in complete and total agreement with you. And it's a frustration. The silent majority is hit with Poway Road issues, just like everybody else is.
Right.
But they've paid attention to it now.
Well, they're not just hit with Poway Road issues. They're hit with development in the farm.
Yeah.
And
that.
And they're hit with development, where we just talked about Hollyoak in Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other places in Poway that people are looking over saying, WTF, what's going on here, Yeah. So
the farm issue, I mean, that wasn't easy to put in place.
Right.
And now it's manifesting it, and it's not manifesting itself the way I was explained it would be.
Well, granted, I didn't study in minutia the detail and if houses were going to be built on like artificial plateaus and things. And I know some people are aghast at how that's going down, but we all knew there was going to be a lot of homes put in, and they were going to be decent sized houses.
Yeah, and I always thought they were going to be single story. You know,
No, yeah, there were some that were double, but there were definitely some that were single.
Yeah.
And cases like, the classic case of the family that has been very vocal.
Mhm.
And I saw they put a video of their backyard with the white fence
Mhm.
that used to look over the golf course, and now there's 3 or 4 big homes that are their privacy is invaded. Well, yeah, I mean, when that measure passed, they knew that was going to happen. And I don't know, if I'm one of those homeowners, I would be upset. I'd be angry, but what can you do? You can't unwind the development. You can vote out the politicians, but that doesn't change the reality of the houses that are built and your privacy invaded. You can, and really the politicians weren't the ones that voted on Measure P. That it was like a 60-40, wasn't it, roughly?
Right. Yeah.
So the voters approved it. So you can eject all the people of Poway, 60% of them, jettison them all. But in many ways, they can try to put up trees and try to create some privacy, but it'll never be the same.
It won't be the same.
So I don't know, for a lot of those folks, they might have to make the difficult decision to move. And it sucks, but that's the only thing they can really control.
Right.
It's difficult. So anyways, the other comment I want to make on the sort of this predictions thing
Mhm.
is that, okay, in election in District 1, there's just 2 guys running. And to me, that makes the race fascinating, because like when you ran in 2018, there was 1 incumbent and 4 challengers.
3 challengers.
3?
Yeah. Me.
Oh yeah, there were 4 people total running.
4 people total.
So those 3 challengers fragment and diffuse the anti-incumbent vote. But now you can sort of kind of say that Pepin represents the incumbent.
Oh yeah.
And then you could
I don't
definitely
think you sort of kind of it's written there.
Yeah. And then Hiram is the change candidate. And so that race is fascinating, because the result of that race is going to really tell us what Poway thinks.
Yeah.
Then you go to District 3, and there are 3 candidates, and you've got DeHoff, who has the support of the city council, and he's not pulling any punches. He says, stay the course. That's his slogan. He has the support of city council. So if you're a Voss supporter, basically they're telling you vote for DeHoff.
Mhm.
Then you got Kevin Juza, who sat down with me, and I really liked him.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot more than I expected I would like him. And he was a very nice guy, has good values. I mean, he's a Democrat, but he's not like on the edge. He's not a way on the lefty side.
Mhm.
He's a very moderate Democrat, the way I kind of the vibe that I got from him. And he strikes me as a very serious candidate. And then Tony Russo, who has run before, is a business person who is very well known, has shown me a lot this election. Like when the way that he tried to get that Holly Oaks situation organized,
Mhm.
I'm like, hey, dude is stepping up. He's like really trying to represent the people, and he's doing the groundwork that you would hope city council people would do. And I'm like, wow. And so my district, District 3, I honestly don't know who's going to win. I mean, I could see that one going in any number of directions. And with 3, reasonably serious, or 3 very serious candidates, anything could happen. And the winner might end up with 35% of the vote.
Yeah. Now, can I interject the only prediction the only thing I think about when you talk about the way it's going to turn out? There are 5 votes in the Poway City Council, Mayor, 4 City Council.
Right.
It's been unanimous voting for a long damn time.
Yeah.
On virtually every issue of any real consequence. 1 vote is not a change. 2 votes, not a change.
Mm-hmm.
3 votes is essential to change the direction of Poway.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Well, and
people who are voting have got to think that way.
So, and that would mean if you were to have 3 change candidates win, that would be a trifecta which I think is the odds on that are higher than winning the Powerball. That let's just say hypothetically, Soto and Juza or Russo and Bolin or Esparza were to win all three of those. I mean, that's crazy. That would be really, really, if that happened, the Poway would be flipped on its ear. Now, I'm of the belief that even if one of those three races went that way, that would be a very strong statement being made in our city that things are changing, and would be reflective, I think, of the demographic shift in voter registration as well.
Is that going to stop 4-story structures?
No, it won't. If you only have one change candidate and 4 status quo on the city council, it'll be 4-1 votes a lot.
The things that people are angry about, you need 3 votes.
And then even if you,
2 will slow it down. 1, it's a bump in the road.
Right. That's right. And even if you had 3 change candidates and 2 status quo on the city council, you can't tear down what's already been built.
No, but you can stop it from getting any worse.
Right, right. So this is, to me, really fascinating. And then, oh, by the way, in the mayoral race, I'll say this, is that Yuri Bolin, I think he's out there. I mean, for a guy that's self-funded, a guy that, you know, is just really doing it solo. I mean, he's out there and he's pushing hard. And the fact that he was saying he was out walking streets, knocking on doors when we were having that press conference, or that pseudo press conference, that was interesting karma,
Yeah.
but indicative of the fact that he's out there. And then Delta Esparza is obviously a very serious candidate. I think I'm seeing a lot of Delta signs around town. And I think a lot of that is because, you know, certainly she is supported by the Democratic Party. So you're going to have those folks have with their signs. But I also think there's a lot of people, the anti-Voss vote is Delta's getting a good percentage of that. And I know Yuri's trying to get some of that as well. But Delta's scooping up a lot of the anti-incumbent vote for mayor.
Yeah.
But the comment I'll make on the mayoral race is that there's 2 other candidates. There's a total of 5 that are running.
True.
One of them is dropped out, and the other one is running, but is what I'll call a paper candidate.
Right.
They're filed, but they're not really running a serious
Showed up
campaign.
at the debate.
Yeah.
He spoke well at the debate. I was impressed with the answers he gave. But as he walking the streets, I don't see him. I don't see any signs. I don't see him.
Right. So that's my thing, is that, but I still think what's going to happen is those 2 candidates are going to get a lot more of the vote than you expect. And that's going to play into Mayor Voss's hand, because the anti-incumbent vote will be further fragmented and diluted. And I can see that dynamic playing out. So, you know, if you're a Voss supporter, you like that. If you're a Voss supporter, you might feel pretty confident going into election day. But, you know, be careful, you know, don't count your chickens.
Right.
And if you're a supporter of Bolin or of Esparza, then you've got to do everything in your power to bring your people out to vote.